I propose that we can begin. We will see if more people will arrive later. I'm J.M De Waele from Free University of Brussels, Université libre de Bruxelles, and with my lab CEVIPOL, we organize a lot of webinars about post-communist countries in Europe. Jacek, Professor Wojnicki participate to a lot of our webinar. I think it's webinar number 9 or number 10 in 25. And I want also to organize a webinar about about Polish presidential election. It seems to me very important. Sorry if I have some problem of connection, but for the moment I'm in Albania. I give some lectures in Shkodër University, and the connection is sometimes not so good. Sorry for the camera, etc., etc. I want to thanks a lot Professor Wojnicki to organize this webinar with me. I tried to organize this webinar, but he gave me very, very important help, and I want to thank my colleagues a lot. And I want to say you that really I hope that is the first step in more collaborations. I want really improve the relation with your different university. I plan to arrive in Warsaw, but maybe in Cracovia, etc., etc. My lab, it's a very active lab in publication, European project, etc., etc. Then I think it can be very good to see what we can do together later. For me, really, it's, I have your email. I will send you also the address of our blog, and Professor Wojnicki published also a lot of things in our blogs. You will see 3-4 pages, and you can give some small analysis and diffuse in one very international network. Then I think it's time to begin and to give the floor to our first participant, and it was Kinga, legal aspect of the presidential election in Poland. And you have, I don't know, 12 minutes or 2 or 3 more, but not too much, because I think what is important, it's also to answer, to discuss, etc. Thank you very much, and I give you, and you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I opened the slideshow. Okay. Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank you very much for a kind invitation to join today's seminar. It is a pleasure to be here and have the opportunity to take part in this important and timely discussion. Next Sunday, Polish citizens will participate in general and direct presidential election in Poland. My aim today is to present and analyze the legal framework that governs this electoral process. Poland operates under a parliamentary system with strong semi-presidential features. In this model, the head of government, the prime minister, is separate from the head of the state, the president. That's obvious. So, executive power is shared. The president is elected by people, while the prime minister is appointed by the parliamentary majority and forms the cabinet. But before we turn to the legal mechanism of presidential election, let us first briefly consider the historical and institutional context of this solution. According to Herbert Kitchell, Poland inherited what he called a model of national consensus communism, a form of regime that emerged in the state where the industrialization was dilated, civil society and worker class were weak, and authoritarian intervention disturbed democratic trajectories, such after Marshal Piłsudski 1976 coup. Even during the communist era, Poland maintained a certain level of internal pluralism and elite autonomy, particularly through the influence of Catholic Church. These factors, combined with moderately developed bureaucracy, helped shape Poland's transition in 1989 toward a semi-presidential system. So, the key legal foundation for presidential election in Poland is obvious. That's the Constitution of Republic of Poland from 1997. The core regulations are found in Article 126 to 30, while broader principles like the rule of law and sovereignty of nation also shape the process. We are the liberal democracy republic, so that is obvious foundation. Presidential elections in Poland follow the principles of being universal, direct, and conducted by secret ballot. The president is elected for 5 terms and can be re-elected only once. Active suffrage, the right to vote, is granted to Polish citizens aged 18 and older. Passive suffrage, meaning the right for to run for the president, is restricted to those who are at least 35, possess full public rights, and have not been convicted of international crime but a fine art court judgment. And we've got electoral code. Beyond the constitution, the details, rules for conducting presidential election in Poland are set out in the electoral code passed on January 5, 2011. I would like to focus on the one key element regulated by the electoral code. In Poland, a person who wants to run for president must collect at least 100,000 signatures for support from eligible voters. This threshold is intended to filter out unserious candidates, but it also sparks public debate. In current 2025 election, 13 candidates were officially registered. There are voices that the number of signatures should be increased so that there are fewer candidates. The fourth runner, Rafał Trzaskowski, submitted over 1 million signatures, which shows both strong support and how high-profile campaigns can easily surpass the threshold. But in my opinion, the 100,000 signature recruitment should not be increased. It's already high enough to make sure that candidates are serious, but still gives ordinary citizens a real chance to support independent or less known candidates. To compare among European countries with direct presidential elections, only Romania requires more signatures. There is a threshold is 200,000 signatures. So Poland already has one of the stricter system. Raising the threshold further could make people feel even more disconnected from the political process. And in democracy, we should aim to bring citizens closer to politics, not push them away. So that is important part of democratic process. I would like to focus on campaign financing in Polish presidential election. In Poland, only registered electoral committees can fund a presidential campaign, and money must go through the special campaign bank account. Campaigns can use their own funds, donation from the Polish citizens, but only individuals, and support from political parties. Companies, foundations, and foreign donors are strictly forbidden. There is also a spending limit, 60 groszy per voters. That's about 14 euro cents, which means around 4 million euros for this year campaign. This kind of cap is not universal in Europe. In fact, many countries, including Germany, Finland, don't have formal legal limits on total campaign spending, but of course, doesn't mean there is no control. After the election, every committee must file a financial report to National Electoral Commission. If they break the rules, they can lose their right to state reimbursement. And if candidate gets at least 3% of the votes, the committee can get part of the money refunded. So this another open gate solution in Polish electoral process for weaker candidates. The system of electoral administration in Poland is multi-level and well-structured. At the top, we have the National Electoral Commission, which acts as a central supervisory body. It not only oversees the overall legality, the process, but also issuing guidelines for all subordinate electoral authorities. Below National Electoral Commission are electoral commissioners who operate regionally and supervise the process within the jurisdiction. Finally, the district commissions are responsible for the practical organization of the vote itself. They handle voters list, ballots, vote counting, and ensure the proper conduct of the election of the ground. Working in district committees is very popular among my students. And finally, electoral procedure. This procedure in Poland follows a clear sequence of the stages. First, the Marshal of the Sejm announces the election, and at least 100 days before the president's term ends, triggering the electoral process. After that announcements, candidates can register and campaign period begins. Voting takes place either in person and postal station or by postal ballot. When voting is completed, the National Electoral Commission announces the final results. If no candidate secures an absolute majority in the first round, second round of election is held to determine the winner. And on the slide, we are focusing on the legal mechanism of challenging the results of the presidential election in Poland. First, every voter have right to file an electoral protest to the Supreme Court within 3 days of announcements the official results. This is important safeguard for democratic accountability and transparency. The body that handles these complaints in the Chamber of Extraordinary Control and Public Affairs operates within the Supreme Court. However, the independence and legitimacy of this chamber have been questioned due to the controversial appointment of some of its judges. These appointments were made by the National Council of Judiciary, which is now influenced by the former ruling party, Law and Justice. And as a result, both Polish and international courts have raised concerns about chambers' impartiality, especially when it decides on the validity of the election. So, thank you very much for listening to basic information about election in Poland. I remain at your disposal if you have any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting. And I give the floor to Małgorzata now. And you have more or less the same time to make your presentation. I propose that all questions, reflection will be after all the presentation. It's more easy because subject can be totally connected. Okay.
Of course.
You have the floor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor De Waele. Professor De Waele, Professor Wojnicki, thank you very much for inviting me for this event. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very honored and so happy being among such great academics like professors, like Professor Dorota Piątek, like Kinga Wojtas, Dr. Kinga Wojtas, thank you very much. And Professor Hartiiraki, Maciej Hartiiraki, who is also with us. It's huge task what I am facing right now, so good evening to everyone, of course. So I try to fix in such frames, strict frames of time, time like a time gorset. So how to present 13 candidates, as Kinga mentioned. I try to share my screen, but I don't know whether it works. I'm not using very often the Teams, so I'm trying to share the screen, but I'm not sure whether I have any access to that.
Right corner, Małgosiu.
Małgosiu, na górze jest, obok opuść, udostępnij.
Wiem, ale klikam i nie mogę tego, tego nic nie wchodzi. No.
A może to organizator, czyli Jean-Michel?
All right, I think it's happening. Is it? Could you see? Right?
Great.
Is
yes.
It okay?
Yes,
right?
yes,
it's good.
Perfect.
Thank you very much. So sorry for this technical
break. Thank you very much.
So, being just brief, I'd like to present, so my task is to present 13 candidates, as Kinga mentioned. 13 candidates has been registered according to the former rules. They fulfilled all the legal barriers. They got support minimum of the 100,000 signatures. They just collected them and they presented it to National Commission, Electoral Commission. So briefly over the presidential candidates. Here you have the first pages of journals which I'm collecting since few weeks, journals, newspapers. On the first pages, as you can see, they are mostly and mainly the most important, most popular two candidates. Here is the Rafał Trzaskowski, that's the Polityka, one of the weekly journal, Newsweek from this week, and Karol Nawrocki, who's representing the opposition side. So a registration process took some time. So we haven't been sure from the beginning of this year how many candidates will be registered. Much more than 13 candidates showed their interest who will be in a race at the end. And finally, we have 13 candidates, and I counted how many candidates that refers to Kinga's presentation, what Kinga's mentioned before, just a few minutes before that. There are many voices who are criticizing that so many people are candidates in these elections. This is not the maximum what we had in the Polish history of the of current republic democratic system. So starting with 1990, starting since the first direct elections and free elections of the head of state in 1990, the number of the candidates has been changing, and you can see the tendency is increasing. So starting with the 6 in the first round, of course, but in 2005, although they have been registered, 16 of them, 2 were just eliminated at the final ballots, just because some formal reasons. And this year we have finally 13th. I checked how it is in France. Of course, there is the other rule of the registration process. Candidates who want to participate in the direct elections in France had to get minimum 500 signatures, but given by those who are already representatives, so who had given or got elected or have been elected or have some so that's why so they have some kind of legitimacy. So that is the 500 signatures from the pool of 47,000 altogether people who may support such candidacy. As you can see, that comparison shows that in France the number is also something around 12, even 16 in 2002, very famous presidential elections in France. So 13 from among, I counted from the very beginning, from those who have been interested in taking part in these elections, there were around 40 people in Poland. This is, the number. Of course, it's not so different in this case. Right, France is bigger in terms of the population than Poland, but anyway. I'm on the side of the Kinga's thinking about the democracy. 13, of course, that's the first round. We will see what will be in the second. What about the candidates in the polls? Shortly, these are the polls I took, and I just gathered together some information from the match, as you can see, from the match and the beginning of the match. So the polls showed that most, the biggest chances to get to the second round have Rafał Trzaskowski, who's a representative, who's a candidate supported by Civic Coalition, and Karol Nawrocki, who was formerly a Civic candidate, but of course who is supported by United Right, Law and Justice mostly. And on the third place, that is an interesting situation. There was a race and discussion whether Sławomir Mencen, who's representing far-right political parties, will compete and will take that third place. And he will compete with Szymon Hołownia, who is a speaker of the Sejm on the first chamber, first house, lower house of the parliament, and who is representing so-called third way, the coalition of two political parties, Peasants Party and Szymon Hołownia political party, Poland 2050. But showing you also the other polls, you can see that there are almost similar differences, are around 3%, 2%. So leaders of the polls and support forecast are starting from that point, and I will show you some details, go into details, so from generalization into details. I hope that during the Q&A session we will have more time to come back to some aspects of the programs of each of the candidates, although I've prepared also that information for you for today, especially. Here you have the leaders of all polls. Here there was, if I'm not mistaken, once a discussion whether Karol Nawrocki will get to the second round, because second round is actually sure. We might be sure that will take place in 2 weeks. from coming Sunday. So here you have support, that is the average support for Rafał Trzaskowski, representing the biggest party in the government right now, and Karol Nawrocki, who's representing, who is supported officially right now by the most important, the biggest opposition party, which means Law and Justice. Here you have in the tables on your right-hand side some predictions, starting with the lowest potential support and the highest one. Maximum of those votes which could be casted for each of the candidates in this, but in the first round, of course. So the maximum for Trzaskowski is almost 34, and for Karol Nawrocki almost a little bit more than 29%. Of course, everything will be clear on Sunday evening, or actually at the beginning of next week, officially. Unofficially on Sunday evening after exit polls. I divided candidates into actually here 4 groups. So the leaders, you had them here on this slide, the first slide. Here on the second one, I gathered together the really far right-wing candidates and representatives of the little smaller political parties. Here we have Sławomir Mencen, who is representing Konfederacja, that is the amalgamate, the grouping, confederation of the far-right groupings, which is competing with the Grzegorz Braun, who decided, that was really surprise, to participate in the presidential elections as an independent candidate. He is the leader of the Polish Crown organization, political party, also really far-right representatives, and you have here also some potential support for them. And Marek Jakubiak, it's briefly, it's hard to say how many political parties he represented during his time, during his lifetime, but one of the most well-known political grouping he was a member of, or he was of course the candidate of was the Cookies 15 political grouping, populistic, supporting direct democracy. And here you have also some support, not very high. The most important from this group, the little group of the candidates, is Sławomir Mencen, who is supposed to be, who will be on the third place after the first round. The next, it's not group, but the center-right candidate, but representing political structure, two political parties, Business Party and Poland 2050, is Szymon Hołownia, current leader and speaker of the parliament, of the lower chamber of the parliament, Sejm, who is probably will. We are expecting that he will get something around 6-5, or maybe between 5.5% and 7.5% of votes. Of course, it's he is fighting for his representation and for his result, and for the result for his political party actually in coming next parliamentary elections. I will show you also the other factors of dividing candidates. Left-wing candidates. We have from these 13th candidates 3 people, 3 guys who are representing leftist voters, left-wing programs. Most important are those who are representing groupings which are present in the parliament. Magdalena Biejat, Vice Speaker of the Senate, who just who was cooperating from the very beginning, after the last general elections, with Adrian Zandberg together within the Together party, but they split, and they both of them, they are right now candidates during these elections. Adrian Zandberg is one of the leaders of the Together party, Together left right now, and you can see that the difference between them, the maximum and the average, is not so big. Of course, together they probably could have much more, but the electorate is split almost equally. The third person, the third actor on the left-hand side is Joanna Senyshyn. This is the former member of the post-communist leftist political party, Social Democratic Alliance, and right now she's representing herself. And also representing leftist proposition program. She is an economist, professor of the economy, and she is presenting herself as a specialist who knows what she knows and who is stable and prepared for presidency. And as a fourth group of people here, which I gathered together, is the group of people who are not so before these elections were known either to the very small group of people like the presenters or people who are popular in internet. This is the Krzysztof Stanowski, who has his own channel, television channel, or Maciej Hartiiraki, who has his own, if I'm not mistaken, YouTube channel. And two other candidates, Marek Woch, who was also a few times a candidate during the elections, local elections and parliamentary elections, and Artur Bartosiewicz, who was economist also from the academia, who decided this year to take part in the elections. Here is the picture from the last debate, which took place on Monday. Last Monday, that was the television debate which gathered together all candidates. What are the main topics which are the starting point of the differentiations between the candidates? Foreign policy, security, and internal policy. Of course, among the most important elements and points which candidates are focusing on are relations with the European Union, NATO, of course, relations with the USA, and attitude. Candidates are presenting attitudes to the Ukraine and to the war in Ukraine. Of course, also referring to the sending troops, Polish troops, to war in Ukraine. What about security? Almost all of them, they are in favor of strengthening security, Polish security, and of course, it depends on the candidate whether it will be within the frames of the European Union or outside and independently. Internal policy, what the candidates are focusing on. Women's rights and the questions about the separation of between the church and state, women's rights, but also health system and the well-being of women. So the questions about the abortion, these kind of things. The questions about the how the education should look like. What about the Mr. Grzegorz Braun? Is strengthening credibility and trust, restoring Polishness and eliminating the migrants. Taxation is also as one of the important elements in the debate. Housing problem, that was mentioned many times by Mrs. Biejat and Mr. Zandberg, Mrs. Senyshyn, all of them, the left, most of them leftists, but not only them. They have been stressing and underlying this problem. I divided also candidates according to the three factors. I've chosen three factors. First is the ideology. Second one is the what is the actually position of the representation which is supporting the candidate, and the other purpose and possibilities of each of them. So shortly about that. According to the ideological factor, I divided candidates into 3 groups. Of course, that's maybe a little bit more generalizing, but of course, we have 3 candidates who are representing left appeal. So Adrian Zandberg and Magdalena Biejat and Joanna Senyszyn. On the center and right side are, or center right, or moving to the right, like Rafał Trzaskowski during this whole campaign, starting to be moving to the right, just trying to seduce the right-wing voters. Among the most important are Karol Nawrocki, Szymon Hołownia, Rafał Trzaskowski, Artur Bartosiewicz, and in my opinion, somewhere in the center, but also moving sometimes to the left, sometimes to tending to be right, as Krzysztof Stanowski, and but purely far right candidates remain named as a far right. Sławomir Mencen, for sure, really strictly. Grzegorz Braun, who's against, who's anti-Semitic, xenophobic, completely, but also Marek Jakubiak, Maciej Maciak, who is sympathizing with Russia, and Marek Woch, who's showing himself as a representative of farmers. Second farmer candidates from the center and fringe political scene, who is supporting the political parties. The most important is the strongest support in terms of the strongness of the political party are Rafał Trzaskowski, supported by the Civic Coalition, Karol Nawrocki, supported by the Law and Justice, Szymon Hołownia, supported by 2 political parties, Business Party and Poland 2050. Candidates from the margins and on the party scene, so supported by the smaller political parties, are Sławomir Mencen, Szymon Hołownia. Also here we may say, because the Poland 2050 is not a big one, but as a coalition, a huge one, Magdalena Biejat, Zandberg, and Grzegorz Braun, and candidates who are actually representing themselves. They are not supported by the huge movements, or they are supported by only by committees, or they have support by the electorate, by voters, are on the right hand side. On the last column, you can see there are 6 of them. And the last factor, purpose and possibilities. What is actually the main aim of among the actors during these elections? Here we have I also divided candidates into 3 groups. Main main candidates supported by strongest political parties who have really chance of winning. They have full programs. We may support them or not. It's a completely different story, but they are representing the strongest part, or the vast part of the electorate. Rafał Trzaskowski, Karol Nawrocki, candidates who are competing in these elections actually for the result. It's not, they are sure and they are aware, although they are not expressing that they will win in the first run, but they are actually trying to get as much as they can, just present and show to the people that they want to, that they are representing political parties who are present, who are visible, and who are influential on the Polish party scene. These are Sławomir Mencen, far right, Grzegorz Braun, of course, Szymon Hołownia from the center, and from the left-hand side, Magdalena Biejat and Adrian Zandberg. And the third group, I call that group entertainment, popularity, and career actors. Those people who wanted to start to be much more visible, popular. So their main purpose is, maybe honestly, according to them, deep in their heart, to change Poland, but also to get popularity. Krzysztof Stanecki is showing that and telling and talking about that really expresses verbis. There is no question mark in that. And that and the others, Joanna Senyszyn, Artur Bartosiewicz, Marek Jakubiak, Maciej Maciak, and Marek Woch. Next, I have some details. Maybe during the Q&A session, we may go back to the programs. I see at the clock that I'm not having so much time, but we may probably come back to the details from the programs of the candidates, which I prepared for today, especially. So the question is, who will win in the first round of Polish presidential elections? Among those people, here we have the leaders and the others, the French candidates. According to the last support forecast for the candidates in presidential elections, according to Marcin Palade from yesterday, which I found, we can see that there is we have some leaders, two of them. There is probably no chance to replace the second place, because a few weeks ago we had some discussion whether maybe Sławomir Mencen may get the second place, like François Bayrou in 2007 as a black horse in that race. We will see, but it seems to be that even the last scandal from last two weeks, last scandal, which refers to the Karol Nawrocki with the small apartment in Gdańsk, and the controversy of buying that from the elderly gentleman for really little amount of money, and for the help which was not given to this old gentleman, won't destroy the chances of being in the second round. So rather certain is second round of the elections. So we will see on Monday who will be in a probable, I think, sure second round of the elections. Thank you very much indeed. I'm looking forward for the questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was very, very interesting. We lack of time to discuss all these questions, but really it's very, very interesting. And I give the floor to Maciek, and you have the floor also for your presentation.
Okay, hello.
Hello.
I would like to show you my presentation. And also, okay, it works, I hope.
Well, I'm afraid that Małgosia should cancel her screen first.
Sorry.
Yes, right. So sorry. Is it okay right now?
No.
I still see your screen.
Okay. Okay, not.
Cancel this udostępnij.
Right.
Let's do it now.
That's okay.
Is it okay right now?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Wonderful. So sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to present my short presentation on leadership in Polish political parties, and especially in the context of procedure for electing presidential candidates. And I prepared some tables for you, and I would like to show you that the first step to become the President of the Republic of Poland is to become a candidate. And from the perspective of party leaders in Poland, it is very important to become a candidate, especially in Prawo i Sprawiedliwość and Konfederacja Korony Polskiej of Grzegorz Braun. So in these two political parties in Poland, the party leader decide who will be the candidate for presidential elections. If I should be clear that in Prawo i Sprawiedliwość, party leader submit for approval, so it is very important. But in Grzegorz Braun, his party, it is enough to indicate the candidate. So it's also two different procedure that obviously I do not see some possibility that someone vote against the Jarosław Kaczynski, who submits someone as a candidate of law and justice, but maybe in the future it works. But now, as we know, everyone, the Prawo i Sprawiedliwość doesn't submit any of the party members as a candidate for presidential leadership, and we have Karol Nawrocki, who is not a member of this political party, and also he is not directly supported by Prawo i Sprawiedliwość at the beginning, and after a few weeks of the campaign, obviously Law and Justice accepted as his official candidate. But the most interesting case in Poland is Platforma Obywatelska RP, because this political party use party primaries for choosing a candidate, and obviously it is not a full open party primaries. The internal candidates cannot compete with everyone, because the elites of political parties decide who will be the candidate. And the second one, it was the first one when Bronisław Komorowski and Radek Sikorski many years ago tried to compete who will be the candidate, and Radek Sikorski defeat. And also in this party primaries in political party, also Radek Sikorski does not win with Rafał Trzaskowski, and the second one became the official political candidate for presidential leadership. And I think this case is very interesting because the party primaries and generally the Platforma Obywatelska is one of the most, if we can say, democratic political party in Poland, because they give opportunity of party members to choose who will be the party leader and also a candidate for presidential elections. So it is also, I think, the topic of many political, not political, but many of papers in Poland. And obviously it is easy in other political parties. The National Council decide who will be the candidate in presidential elections. So this is very easy, common way to choose who will be represent political party in presidential election. And the second step is I would like to present you some numbers, and then obviously it doesn't tell us a lot about the content, but we also can see that the number of party leaders who compete in presidential election isn't enough. For instance, 10 years ago, there were only 2 party leaders who compete for presidential for presidency, and now we have 4 party leaders who try to be a president of the Republic of Poland. And if I can use, oh yes, it is, and you can see exactly each name of party leader who try to be.
I'm afraid I can't see any presentation.
It doesn't work.
I mean, I see some screen.
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you, but not the presentation. We see that there is a stare foldery, Brill,
right.
2023.
Oh, really? I don't know why. I see. Okay, I try.
Take
sorry,
your time.
one more
Take
time.
your time. No stress. Keep cool.
Okay. One more time. Is it okay now?
Yes. Great.
Right now we can see
okay.
the presentation.
Okay, great. I'm sorry.
Repeat,
okay,
Maciek, repeat.
Okay, no, I will not repeat. I talk a lot of, so I'm sorry for talking. But now I will see you one more time, very short and brief speech. You can see Platforma Obywatelska Party Primaries, Prawo i Sprawiedliwość Party Leader, Konfederacja Korony Polskiej is a party of Grzegorz Braun, so also party leader decide, and other political parties, National Council. And the numbers, I told you about the numbers, that in 2015, there were 2 party leaders who compete for presidency, and now we have 4 party leaders who try to be a president. And one of the most important table, you can see on this graph, all candidates for presidency in Poland for last 35 years. And obviously the last one is important for us. For me, what is the most important is the classification of members, because in many cases we had party members who were not party leaders, but they decided to become candidate. There is some expectations for Lech Kaczynski 2005. Exactly, he was a party member then, but he wasn't a party leader. He was a party leader at the beginning of the political party in 2001 to 2003 at the beginning, and then he, I don't know, switched the leadership to his brother Jarosław Kaczyński. So during the presidential election, he wasn't a party leader. And there are many non-members of political parties, but in some cases they are supported. And we have two cases this year, Magdalena Biejat and Karol Nawrocki, who are not party members, but they are supported by political parties. And today I talked to some of journalists and asked me about that. I don't know how to say, to będzie kandydat obywatelski, so citizen candidate, but Nawrocki is not the first one. Yes, we have also Elena Górek, not a party member, but supported by Socialist Left Alliance political party and nominated by previous party leader Leszek Miller. Also, she was some kind of citizen candidate. And also Olechowski was a very important candidate who was also as candidate from citizens. So Karol Nawrocki is not the first one, but officially now is the most important. And why? Because one of the most important political party, Law and Justice, decided to not submit any of very important party members. No one from party elites are not a candidate. So we have something new. Obviously, in many cases before, not only party leaders become candidates, but it is the first one when the most important political party decide not to delegate party leader. So I think it's a very interesting case and some kind of surprising. And if I can say that we have also, as Gosia said, about not supported by political parties, Bartoszewicz, Maciek, Senyszyn, Stanowski. So we have a lot of political candidates who are not supported by any important political parties. And if I remember well, because Kinga said at the beginning, you have to find or catch. I think in Polish case it is a good answer and good term today. So find or catch 100,000 signatures from Polish citizens. So if I remember well, there were some kind of candidates who achieved 8,000 votes during the presidential voting. So it was, I don't know, 10% of votes who they found in signatures. And the last table is president. I would like to also find that any of president were prime minister in Poland. And I think if we believe in the graph which Magda saw us, the next president will be not also a prime minister. And I think he will be also no party leader. Even I rather agree that Trzaskowski and Nawrocki will fight in the second round. So any of them were party leader of political parties. So if I can summarize my short presentation, I would like to say that party leaders do not play any active role in presidential elections. In most cases, they delegate other party members or other candidates who will compete for the most important function in Polish political system. So I think I don't know if it is interesting, but I would like to find someday the candidate who was a party member, member of parliament, prime minister, and at the last of his political career, he will become a president. And I hope the one day will come. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Very interesting presentation also. We need this information to understand what happened. And now I give the floor to Dorota to the last intervention, and we can give the floor to the audience. Dorota, you have the floor.
Well, I don't know if you can see my screen.
We see it once again right now.
Can you see my presentation?
We can see right now.
Oh, great. Okay, great. Okay, so very briefly about the path of or platforms of political communication in Poland. I decided to change a little bit this title of my presentation. But first of all, following my colleagues, I would like to express my thanks for being invited to this very nice team and very nice and very fruitful discussion. So, talking about political communication channels in presidential campaign in Poland right now, we usually think about this division between the presidential campaign in traditional media and new or internet media, but basically thinking about internet media, we think about social media. I'm not going to talk about social media itself, or I'm not going to talk about exclusively about social media. I just want to very briefly describe the channels of communication, of political communication. So, as I said, basically we can divide between traditional media and new media, and to be, let's say, systemic, I would like to include into traditional media such ways of communication or tracks of communication like advertisements or political election broadcasts. I would also include into traditional media the popular formats or presence of politicians in popular formats of traditional media. And I mean such formats or such platforms as morning television, as some events covered by traditional media, by media reporting the election, the run for presidency. And the third, especially in our circumstances right now in Poland, so the third form of this traditional media exposure, it would be TV debates, which have become, I would say, the most popular way of discussing between candidates, especially those who are not expected to be the prime or the winners of this competition. I think that we will talk about, maybe not during our today discussion, but I'm positive that there will be a big discussion in academic realm as well about the meaning of this debate in 2025 presidential campaign in Poland, because this meaning exceed, in my opinion, campaigning itself, but it also represents the divisions or polarization in the field of media themselves. And new media, as a channel of political communication, I would point out following issues or following topics: social media. Of course, we all know that the importance of social media is increasing. I would also say about news platforms, which I mean professional newsrooms, but acting only in internet field, and paid ads advertising, which is also present in new media, in different platforms in new media. And talking about advertising or advertisement, political advertisement, of course, we can point out some general rules, and you have briefly presented them on the screen right now. So advertisements promoting specific candidates are not allowed until the elections are announced. But of course, we know that this is a formal regulation, but in practice, I mean, this kind of a promotion of candidates had been started earlier than elections were announced. Talking about advertisement, we have to mention financial restrictions, which are somehow mentioned by Kinga in terms of financing a presidential campaign. And what is important, and sometimes it's not very obvious for some who are not interested in the issue, election committees may place PEBs on public and non-public radio and television broadcasters for a fee, as well as on internet platforms. But because we have this system of duopole in Poland, meaning that there is public television and commercial broadcasters, the public broadcaster has special obligations, and one of them is to publish freely PEBs which are controlled by committees, by election committees. If you are talking about commercial rules of publishing ads in Poland, they are at least two very basic rules, which is equal access and equal price. It means that all committees have the same equal access to all media who decided to publish political messages. And all committees are supposed to be charged the same price for publishing their messages. And well, which is probably not very bizarre or very I mean, unexpected. There is no regulations related to the internet channels, including social media. And one thing should be mentioned, and I forgot to put it onto screen, which is the allowance of publishing political advertisements, not only by committees, by candidate committees, but by so-called third parties, which is especially visible in the internet media. Talking about candidate promotion and traditional media, especially public media and legal regulations, public nationwide media are obliged to broadcast political election broadcasts of election committees 15 days before the day of voting, which in this year meant 3rd of May, and these broadcasts, these PEBs, will be published until 16th of May, until midnight, and the election silence, because in midnight, I mean Friday midnight, something which we call election silence starts. This is the period when it is forbidden, it is not allowed to publish any promotion of any sort of any candidate. This year, 13 election committees of candidates can take advantage of the right to free broadcasts to be published by public channels of political communication. And the National Broadcasting Council specifies by means of a regulation detailed criteria for the distribution of the PEBs, including the time for the distribution or the division of this time. And as you can see, Telewizja Polska, Polish TV, has a total of 20 hours to divide for 13 committees, and Polskie Radio, Polish Radio, has 35 hours to be divided for 13 committees. And time to divide when we talk about this Polish public broadcaster, TV, TVP1 and TVP2. They have 600 minutes to devote and to divide, sorry. And as you can see, there is more regulation on a very specific issues, and I'm not going maybe to refer all of them, but you can see how it works in practice. So TVP1 should publish these PBs between 6 and 10 a.m. and from 4 to 11 p.m. in blocks of election broadcasts no shorter than 10 minutes. TVP2 should publish, should fulfill its obligation from 6 to 9 a.m. and from 2:30 to 5:55 p.m., which of course is something that has to or provoke us to put a question whether these broadcasts are still needed, because you know, as you can see, the real time of the publishing are not a priority time. So usually people do not watch television between 6 and 10 a.m. just to follow, you know, these political messages, and they are not very popular, to be honest. So it is questionable, I would say, to have this obligation or to put this obligation on public broadcasters. But still, we have this regulation, this legal regulation, so this obligation is fulfilled as it is, without any interest from the side of audience, to be honest. And there are some obligations put on TVP Polonia, which is dedicated to Poles living abroad. And as you can see, here is 300 minutes to be allocated between 10 p.m. and as you can see, these hours of issue. And Polish radio has 35 hours to divide between the committees, and you have also the specific numbers of minutes and time of broadcasting. What is interesting in those blocks of election broadcasts, the order of broadcasting of messages from particular committees is determined by drawing lots. So there are, I mean, very, very strict regulations how it is exposed. And internet, to be short, until 24th April, 13 candidates registered in the presidential election, of which only 7 are running paid advertising campaigns on the internet. And at the period we have followed, which is mid of April, the dominance of Rafał Trzaskowski was observed, was seen. He was running the most intensive campaign in terms of spending and numbers of ad views, and his ads were displayed approximately 180 million times, which significantly exceeded his competitors, especially Szymon Hołownia, Karol Nawrocki. In the first half of April, Trzaskowski increased advertising spending by over 80%. And other active candidates were Szymon Hołownia and Magdalena Biejat, and after them, Karol Nawrocki was, well, let's say, following this tendency. And as I said, there's a new trend in Polish political communication or electoral communication, which are ads financed by third parties, which means private people and also some social organization, sport organization, whatever you can imagine. And these expenses are not controlled in any way, which is issue itself to be discussed, but there is a new situation. And we have an increasing number of political ads come from outside the official election committees and often carry a negative critical messages. And for example, the most negative ads concern Rafał Trzaskowski, Karol Nawrocki and Sławomir Mencen, and Trzaskowski is criticized by he's accused to be he's accused of hypocrisy and his involvement in the European Union's climate policy. Negative messages against Nawrocki focuses on his expenses, for example, on his expenses at the Institute of National Remembrance, and of course now this apartment gate, as we can name it, is probably the most visible theme in this negative campaign against Nawrocki, and negative messages against Mencen focuses on spreading hate speech and wanting to eliminate the bad social benefits for families with children. And really, very shortly, dominant campaign topic generating the most publications and engagement in internet media, Poland's security and relations with the European Union. And as you can see, this issue achieved the highest engagement on which is expressed in interactivity index at 70 million. Then we have support for families and women's rights, including abortion, and LGBT people also generate high engagement. But these issues, contrary to Poland's security issue, strongly polarized the political scene. And Trzaskowski, Nawrocki, want to reach young people by using direct age targeting, focusing on topics important to young people like higher education, freedom of the internet, and the youth convention. And dominant topics of advertising for young people are the European Union, security, relief for entrepreneurs, the rule of law, and the right of to abortion. But maybe it is something to be noticed. There is no climate issue here. And the very last slide, the leading issues or themes of political ads published in internet, which is, as you can see, reducing the cost of living, strengthening Poland's security, improving the quality of healthcare, and so on and so forth. But the first two are absolutely the dominant topics in this internet discussion or internet message or internet promotion of people of candidates. Another thing which would be very interesting to discuss, but of course we have no time right now, is the use of social media. We are still in the process of observing it. So I think that if we have a chance maybe in the future to meet, I will be able to say more about how it went in social media. I mean, campaign in social media, because the importance of social media is, well, of course, increasing, as I said. Thank you very much, and I'm sorry to be so long.
Thank you. No. It was very interesting. Thank you so much for all this very good and very interesting presentation. I give the floor to the audience. Please, you will hand your yellow hand, and I propose to ask the different questions, and you can answer. We have a 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and after the conclusion. Then first, Petya Georgieva from New Bulgarian University. Petya, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, my camera doesn't work. Thank you for all experts and their contributions here. I have two small questions. The first one concerns the this repeated polarization on foreign policy. Could you please explain the difference among the major candidates in different foreign policy issues, and especially towards Ukraine? What are these divisive issues? And the second one goes beyond the first round. Supposedly, Trzaskowski will be one candidate from the right-wing part of the political spectrum. But do you think that the pro-European camp will have sufficient field to mobilize voters, or the other way around, the right-wing candidate will be more successful to mobilize right-wing and far-right voters? Thank you.
Okay, Kinga from Warsaw.
Good afternoon, Kinga Turbitka, University of Warsaw. Thank you very much for the interesting presentations. I have a question for Małgorzata. In your presentation, you showed a comparison, very interesting, by the way, of the number of presidential candidates in France and in Poland, noting that this number has been increasing over the years. Do you also observe other similarities or maybe differences? For example, a tendency of society to turn towards right-wing candidates whose numbers have also been growing year by year. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I have also 3 questions, and after I propose that our participant can answer, and I think that we have more questions. My first question is, where is Mr. Kaczynski? It's surprising for me because you speak during 1 hour and a half and no Kaczynski in the game. Please say me, raise it. Does it play any role, or really it's finished? Second question, what is the impact of Trump election in your election? Does it play a role? I don't know. Mr. Elon Musk sent email or sent Twitter to give his advice or not? What is the impact? And third, Małgorzata, you speak about the 3 left candidates. Can you explain me what is the difference between the 3 candidates? Because it's strange. You have 3 candidates, 1 5, another 3, another 2. You can hope, if you are from the left, to unify to the left. Then what is the cleavage that it's impossible to have one more important candidate from the left side? I don't know who want to begin to answer, and after this I see that Dominika and Anthony have always some questions. I don't know who won't begin to answer. Maybe Małgorzata, and after it is as you want.
Thank you, Professor De Waele. Thank you very much. If I may start from the very beginning. Thank you very much for all questions. All of them, they are interesting. And of course, if we would like to answer them really fully, we have to spend here probably this night and probably next day to discuss. But shortly, first question, thank you very much. Polarization in foreign policy. So the differences between most important candidates, I mean the Rafał Trzaskowski and Karol Nawrocki, is the attitude. You ask actually generally, but also you mentioned Ukraine. So first of all, generally, Rafał Trzaskowski is much more in favor of having good relations, close relations to the Western countries, Western democracies, and being active within the European Union and in frames of NATO. So being close to Germany, to France, deepening European integration. Of course, maintaining the current model of policy which have been implemented by the other governments in terms of the relations towards the USA, but also continuing the evolution and deepening within the Europe. He's rooted in Europe. When it comes to the Ukraine, Rafał Trzaskowski is want to maintain the most far-reaching aid to Ukraine. Of course, he just stressed he do not want to send Polish troops to Ukraine, but strengthening the help for the Ukraine, being active on the platform, diplomatic platform, to resolve the conflict, the war, to stop the war in Ukraine. When it comes to Karol Nawrocki, Karol Nawrocki declares he wants to, if he is elected as a president, he wants to strengthen alliance relations with the US. He went also to United States, and he, as he declared, he met Donald Trump. So he wanted to show his connections, close relations to Donald Trump. He wants to increasingly also increase the spending on Polish military, strengthen national security. This is also the declaration of Rafał Trzaskowski. But in fact, he supports the position of the law and justice in terms of the relation to the European Union. He wants to be just, distance to the Germany and France. So creating some kind of, the sovereign state on the eastern side, but within the European Union, not exiting from the European Union, but being here a little bit distanced. What about the Ukraine? He wants to continue, of course, help for the European Union, Ukraine, sorry, but Ukraine is not so visible, not appears many times in his appeal and during his interviews. But what he stressed in his program, he wants to clarify all the past, which was painful past between the Poland and Ukraine, and he wants to continue exhumation in Ukraine of Poles who have been murdered at the beginning of 20th century. But of course, he also strengthened the obtaining, asking for the reparations from Germany, for example. That is his attitude to foreign policy. If I may move to the Kinga's, Torbicka, thank you very much for your question. Similarities and tendencies when it comes to in society and right-wing, left-wing political candidates in presidential elections. First, left-wing candidates. Very interesting tendency. I saw that especially such events like 2002. 2002, so many number of leftist candidates, but that is the tendency. Left on the right wing is increasing, and that is also the that we may observe also in Poland. In France, the too many leftist candidates were probably the problem, or probably caused the disaster for the Lionel Jospin not entering to the second round and allowing Jean-Marie Le Pen to be present against Chirac in 2002. Here, what about the wing? You are a specialist from the French society. I do not dare to say anything about the French society, but I think that last week there is a discussion that many, not only young people, but those with who are declaring support for the Mensen are also thinking either Mensen or maybe Adrian Zandberg, one from the far right and the one from the far left. But this is a clear also the mechanism which happened in the north part of France, which was the region dominated by miners, or the mining workers, supporting the leftist socialist party, who lost their jobs because the companies started to be reduced and closed, and they turned their sympathies and their support into the Front National and Rassemblement National right now. So that is what I see. Although the programs are completely contradicting each other, the tendency which we have to probably explore more to find the answers for the questions. So yeah, if I may stop here, but the continuation is Professor De Waele also asked a question about the 3 left candidates. So I start from the last question, from your 3 questions. 3 left candidates. 2 most important with the highest support, Adrian Zandberg and Magdalena Biejat. Difference between them is really slight. The most important difference is that Magdalena Biejat is supporting government, and she by herself also, if I may quote her, she don't avoid the responsibility to doing something. She is also criticizing civic platform colleagues from the Poland 2050, Szymon Hołownia from Peasants Party, which she completely does not agree with. For example, in issues referring to the abortion or the women's rights, or the one-sex LGBT rights, for example. And Adrian Zandberg is on the opposition side. His party, Together Left, supported government at the very beginning. Right now, they are just they assessing and they criticizing, and that is actually programs are very similar. We may say there are some really specifics which are different. What about the Trump and Elon Musk? I think Elon Musk right now has his own problems with his companies and decrease of the sales indexes, and he was also criticized and expelled by what he has done in American administration. In fact, I cannot see the Trump impact. Of course, Trump and US, that is the point which we are referring to. But I think the direct the impact, I don't know whether Dorota, Kinga, Jacek, Maciej, would you agree with me? I cannot see Trump impact right now. In fact, the direct Trump, who is influencing. Last but not least, where is the Mr. Kaczynski? Mr. Kaczynski is every time. He is just choosing the right place for him, not to be responsible, but having all, lines in his hands, and he is just. He is expressing his disagreement with what press is presenting about the Karol Nawrocki. This was Dorota mentioned apartment gate with the apartment in Gdańsk and the older gentleman. He cheated probably. We do not know for sure right now, but every sign are showing that conclusion. So Kaczynski says, of course, he defends Karol Nawrocki against every criticism. He is there, but he of course shows that Karol Nawrocki is a civic and popular candidate. Not only we are supporting him, but the whole Poland. So that is why he's a little bit aside, not being in the center. I think that's the clever narrative and clever move taken by Kaczynski. I stop right now, and I leave the floor for others. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if Dorota, Kinga, or Maciej want to add something. Kinga?
Yes, I would like to continue answer on your question about cleavage on the left side on Polish political spectrum. We've got one serious cleavage, not generation conflict or conflict in family, argue in family like between Biejat and Zandberg. because we have to remember about post-communist competition in Polish political parties system, and only Professor Senyshyn was a member of the Communist Party, and until the first decade of 21st century, we observed the real serious cleavage between communist parties and anti-communist opposition. And Professor Senyshyn is the last. She's the dinosaur of this cleavage, and that was. I would like to add just this sentences to complain answer of Małgosia. Thank you.
Dinosaur out of revolution.
Yeah. Exactly.
If I may add something
Dorota.
if I may add something to my colleagues, although I wasn't asked directly, Kaczynski issue, it's interesting itself, and I think a lot of books will be written on his role, and even not the role which is obvious, but the way of acting in political field, and about his strategy, how to avoid, as Małgosia mentioned, how to avoid responsibility, being at the same time the only person who would like to create, the whole reality in Poland. So it is itself an interesting issue. But well, he as usual, he plays a role of so-called hidden, weapon of peace and justice. Talking about Trump influence on our elections, it is a very complex issue because, well, of course, the victory of Trump was perceived as something which might influence the chances of right-oriented, American-oriented parties or candidates in Poland. So it was perceived as a favor for the campaign of a candidate of peace and justice. But because of all statements made by Trump and decisions made by him after getting the office, it became kind of a delicate and complicated issue, because, as we know, a lot of decisions was against him. To be honest, of interest of Polish society, of Polish economy, and Polish position in the European Union. But the issue, Trump himself and America is still important for Poles, especially those who are in favor of right-oriented candidates, which was proved by Nawrocki going to Washington, and he will succeed in catching the so-called photo op. So to make a photograph with Donald Trump, with President Trump, and it was meant to be used very widely in the campaign. But then we have this apartment gate. So this issue with or problems of Nawrocki with apartment in Gdańsk and in Gdynia, whatever. But so I think that it is too complicated. Too complex to be used directly. Although there were such plans to use the feelings of Poles still very vivid and positive towards America, towards the myth of America, I would say, as a leader of so-called free world, which America is probably not right now. So yeah, it's interesting, but I think that the issue of Trump will be exposed in second campaign, or the second round of campaign. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Two last questions from the young generation. Anthony?
Yes, thank you for the presentation and the first answers you gave. That's really interesting.
Anthony, we have a problem with your...
Is everyone hearing me well?
No. Maybe Dominika first, and yeah. Anthony can resolve the problems. Dominika?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, so my name is Dominika Mamla. I'm a master student at ULB. So my first question would be addressed to Professor Dorota Piątek. So it would be more regarding the topic that wasn't maybe touched on about social media. But recently I came across a study where populism was used as a communication tool, especially in social media, and which caused increasement in engagement of publication on social media, especially on Facebook. And also it was said that such mechanisms were used not only by far right, but also from by other candidates from the whole political spectrum. And so my question would be, what do you think about this? Why is it so influential? Why is it used by so many candidates? And my second question is actually about one of the current candidates, about Sławomir Mencen. Why do you think so many young people are so supportive of this candidate? What do you think speaks the most to them? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Maybe Anthony have some problems of connection. Then I propose that I don't know who wants to answer to
maybe a question about social media. Social media, as I said, become more and more important in the sense of creating a platform to persuade people. But what is even more important for me, and this is something I'm researching on right now, social media gives this very unique opportunity to build something which is called parasocial relations, so with candidates. So it gives, this opportunity, this chance to have a feeling that a voter is in an intimate personal relation with a politician, okay? And social media are important because they allow to overcome this barrier which was created previously by so-called traditional media. So there is nobody, not mid-person between a politician and between a voter, somebody who follows a politician on his or her social media. Social media are very disappointed very disappointing. If you follow the research on social media and their role in democratic process, then more and more articles show you that there is a great disappointment with the role of social media because of the issue you've mentioned in your question, Dominika. I mean, this populist feature of social media. I mean, the characteristic of social media themselves is in a favor to build a kind of informative bubbles, allowed to avoid discussions between people representing different points of view. Social media are responsible somehow. Well, of course, not social media themselves, but people using social media are responsible for fragmentation of audience, of voters, and so on and so forth. So this is a great and big issue to be discussed, and I think that because of the growing role of these channels or of these platforms, they will be there will be an issue, a topic of increasing number of research. And I agree with you that not only right-oriented politicians use social media in terms of populism, because we have a great discussion about, academic discussion about the populism and differences and similarities between so-called left-oriented and right-oriented populism, and which is maybe not very obvious for people who are not, let's say involved in political communication. That populism as a category refers not only to politicians but also to the media. So we have some research on populism of media as well. So this is something which is very promising in terms of research, maybe not very promising in terms of the quality of democracy, I'm afraid. And okay, so maybe that's all. I hope that you got your question, your answer, Dominika.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know if somebody want to give all the answer, or I give the floor to Professor Wojnicki to give the conclusion.
Maybe only one sentence, because there was a question.
Yes, sure.
There was a question about Mensen, and I mean, the easiest answer is just to connect what Dominika did, asking her question about social media, to connect Mensen with social media and with his, let's say, skills to use social media, because you know, it's not a problem to have social media. It's not a problem to use them. A problem is to use them effectively, which means that you have a certain skills to use them in a proper way.
Thank you.
Anton, write your sentence, your question in the chat.
Yes.
So I haven't written the chat right now, but in a few seconds I do that. Referring to why Mensen is supported by so many young voters, I think it is connected because he's using a very often and very actively, as Dorota said, the social media, and the young people are using these media too. They are living in that, so to say, as quoted Dorota, bubble. And I think there are also some aspects or reasons of that. Here's one of the youngest candidates, so he also looks young, so similar to the young people. He talks very clearly to them, so in the same way, language which he is using is also, I think, very communicative for these people. The other aspect is he's very clear and radical in his answers. Young people needs, and very much I also have some impressions sometimes from my students. They want to have a clear answer. This is black or white. You have to give me such. There are sometimes people forget that between black and white there are many shades of gray, and many shades of gray. That is the answer of the older generations. So the third aspect is that the young people want to be against the older generation. They want to have their own candidate also. This is also a question why so many women are also among the voters and supporters of Mensen. We cannot also forget about that. So and also what the interesting thing is also that he is increasing. So the support for Mensen is also increasing among those who are of the high status. So those who are very liberal. He wants to cut some everything. So he'll come back to the tradition. I don't know whether really young people want to have and want to pay for education fully, want to pay for the health service. They are young, so they do not have, you know, diseases or health problems. So for them, these kind of the problems are very theoretical and far away. So he do not think in a, I don't want to say in use rational way, but he are thinking by emotions. He creates emotions and gives clear answers. They really sharp, I would say. So that would be my answer. Thank you.
Kinga?
To answer these questions, I've got a more systematic explanation, because I'm the leader of a foundation which research young people, and we observe the problem with recognize their own interest by young people. This is a systematic problem with civic education in Poland. And we observe, as Małgosia mentioned before, about image crisis when he said that the studies should be paid. And his potential voters or supporters were in shock. Oh my God. So we observe that there is no connection between emotion, as Małgosia said, with recognize their own interests, serious interests. That's the problem. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, Maciej.
May I use this very short break just to answer questions of Anthony very briefly? First question was about this outer or external influence. Is it is it something which we shall worry about? Yes, it is something we should be very careful and worry about. And for example, National and Academic Computer Network, which is an official institution, research institution, scientific institution in Poland, and Ministry of Digitalization created something which is called Protective Umbrella. And under this umbrella, it was even today, I guess, statement issued about the threat and about especially the Facebook mechanisms to protect, to influence, for Facebook to implement their mechanisms to protect against these deep fakes and some organized actions in internet. So the answer for your first question, Anthony, is yes. The answer for your second question is no, although we have to remember that everything can be expected in sense that things we were not able to imagine some years ago happened. So in this sense, everything of course may happen, but I don't expect any similarity between Poland and Romania situation, and I wouldn't expect that the first round of elections in Poland will be cancelled and in Romania, because the scale of this let's say bizarre things in internet are pretty different in Poland, not that extended and as it used to be in Romania. Thank you.
Maciej?
Thank you. I would like to tell shortly that I copied the link in the chat, and you can find the answer about the Sławomir Mencen, who is here, who are voters of him. It's very easy. I will not discuss. You can see the very good research by Polish CEVIPOL. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's time to arrive to the conclusion. Professor Jacek Wojnicki, you have the floor, and I want to thank you a lot because I discover a lot of fantastic Polish researchers, and thank you very much to help to build this network.
Good seminar is good person from university and collect them. Yes. A small conclusion. Dear college, thank you for your presentation and interesting comments. To be honest, it was the first seminar on the Polish presidential election, because Professor Jean-Michel proposed to make the second seminar in June after the final ballot. And we discuss different aspects of election of today's Poland, aspect political, social, law, etc. The presidential election was the important time for the state, for the society, and also for the party and its leader. In Polish political system, the prime minister is the crucial political actors, and in this situation, the leader of party, like Maciek told about it, choose the prime minister post, like Donald Tusk, Jarosław Kaczyński and Leszek Miller in the past, not presidential palace. And moment for the party is very select good candidate, but good for whom? For the leaders, for the organization, for the party voters, and for the nation. And in my opinion, it's crucial aspect this seminar and this situation. And we observed a few different situations among the presidential candidates. Natural leader collaborator, civic candidate supported by the party, and candidate came from the small party, the leader the party, like Grzegorz Braun, Szymon Hołownia, or Sławomir Mencen. And crucial socio-political cleavage, its question in this is our discussion, in my opinion, in Poland provide to liberal and conservative camp. And the result of election, some of the first and the final ballot, show popularity of this camp and provide future for the Polish politics. Thanks for the presentation and thanks for participate in seminar. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.